Welcome back to the Morning Brief right here on Channels Television, and we're starting off with our first conversation on the program today, which is the celebration of the Armed Forces Remembrance Day. You know, we've been wearing the emblem for the past 2 months in celebration and in honor of our fallen heroes and our veterans. So today climaxes that solidarity. And of course, when it comes to security, you know, the conversation is Hydra-headed. We could talk about inadequate equipment for men of the armed forces and indeed the police force. We could talk about the welfare of members of the armed forces, and we could talk about intelligence, and we could go on and on. But the best way, you know, to honor the fallen heroes, veterans and men on the force is to stay with this conversation, share their pains, and, you know, advocate for better welfare conditions for the Nigerian Army. And as we start off on the program today, let's welcome Rear Admiral Patrick Nwatu. He's the Flag Officer Commanding Naval Training Command at Apapa, Lagos. Welcome to the program, Rear Admiral
Thank you, Nwatu.
Thank you so much for being here.
I'm greatly delighted to be here.
Indeed, and we're delighted to have you, sir. So let's start off this way. For men of the force, either it's the Navy, the Nigerian Army, or the Air Force, what are the biggest challenges, the most pressing needs of the men of the force, particularly those on the battlefield?
Thanks, Jumoke.
Bukola.
Thanks, Bukola. I want to thank you again for the opportunity to be here and the opportunity again to speak on this very, very important subject matter. The issues of the Armed Forces celebration and Remembrance Day goes beyond the services, just like you mentioned, and it's actually a defense headquarters-led initiative under the Ministry of Defense. And of course, the President chairs everything up with him personally kick forward in this project about 2 months ago with the launch of the emblem. And like you mentioned again today, it climaxes today. For the men in service and for those who are out of service, the best thing that we can do for them right now really is ensure that the reasons for which they fought gallantly, some of whom have fatal injuries and others are falling, would be to sustain the reason for the establishment of the armed forces as one of the key instruments of national power, to ensure that the reasons for this establishment regarding to territorial defense is not forgone. Helping those who are serving to serve even better, and then encouraging good governance at all levels to ensure that problems like that crystallize or snowball into major conflicts like this are reduced or mitigated. So equipment is key to this. Treating the memories of the fallen to help build national conscience as to how we treat people who have made these supreme sacrifices is also germane to this discourse. And I think the nation is doing really well so far, having sustained this practice over the years, and we look forward to further improvements to keep us going.
I wanted to find out from you, most of the time we put the security agencies, the military, under a lot of pressure. When people are killed, when everybody says the military is not doing enough or the police is not doing enough, there's always, from the citizens, expecting so much from the armed forces in terms of deliverables and all of that. And sometimes we also forget that the armed forces, members of the armed forces are also human beings. They have needs as well. So if you were to talk back to us as the military, besides the usual issue of cooperate with us so security can be the responsibility of everybody, talking to us as human beings to human beings in terms of your concerns that is raised, what exactly will you be telling us? When we are talking to you, what we are saying is protect us, defend us according to Section 14 of the Constitution, that the security and welfare of citizens should be the primary responsibility of government. So if somebody dies, we say the military is not doing it. So this is we talking to you. If you were to talk to us, what will you be saying to us?
Oh, well, of course, the first place to start would be to accept the justification in citizens demanding good governance and security. It's a constitutional responsibility on us, and the emphasis is sworn to the oath to defend the country, and you die, if possible, in the course of that role. But sometimes, these are instruments of states. And we don't go about exchanging words or trying to defend how much of what we have done. It's expected that when you work hard, it's evident. And then we trust our partners, including the media, to also report fairly what we have done. True, it might not have been Uhuru for us here, but I know the serious commitments and the seriousness with which the various services have put in to ensure that the issues of territorial integrity and national defense is not compromised. And I can tell you for real, under the leadership of the Chief of Defense Staff, General Musa, and the service chiefs, and the Navy too in particular, which I belong to, under the command philosophy of the Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ikechukwu Ogala, Admiralty Medal, you can see a refocus to sustain all the efforts that has been done, both in the area of maritime defense and security, down to the issue of boosting the current effort of government, the Renew Hope agenda, to boost revenue generation through curtailing excesses in pipeline vandalization and crude theft, and every other thing that has led to the reduction of piracy and criminality in our waters, leading to delisting Nigerian Navy from the list of piracy-prone countries. So much is done. Maybe we don't go about bounding what we've done because it's not necessary. We are actually doing what we are paid to do. But opportunities like this that come up for us to tell the citizenry that indeed we are working, indeed part of the citizenry, our brothers and sisters and colleagues who are serving in this military, they are not strangers. This is the Nigerian Armed Forces, and they are principally born by Nigerian indigents. So they one way or the other would have felt the pain, and it continues. So what I would tell them to do is just to continue to support the armed forces and continue to sustain the memory of these ones who have paid the supreme sacrifice so that they can do more. And we work together for an improved and a more egalitarian society.
Rear Admiral, talking about the armed forces, for a lot of people, comes with different feelings, mixed feelings. Yeah. Some, they have the feeling of joy, excitement, they have memories. For some others, not so. And I think it was cheery to have a former military president, Ibrahim Babangida, just over the weekend, saying that the military will never be involved in democracy or scuttle democracy yet again. But as Jeff said earlier on, this is really that one-sided story. We know our side of the story, but we rarely know your side of the story. And that's the essence of this conversation, really, to sort of have that balance so we can approach things holistically. So maybe to drive the point home the more, I'd like you to speak to Nigerians. What is the life of a typical soldier like? Maybe a soldier who's been deployed. What is the everyday life like? I know what my everyday life is like. I wake up, I take my shower, I rush to work, I do my work, I'm not facing the barrel of a gun, I'm not dodging bullets and all of that. But speak to us, if you can give us a personal story. What is the life of a typical soldier like?
Okay, thanks, Kaide, and for the opportunity. And I will tell you one for one, the life of a typical soldier, sailor, airman, is unpredictable. That's to say the least. Unpredictable in the sense that you cannot tell what the next hour would tell for you. You are sworn to obey the rules, and it does not really matter whether you're on the land, sea, or air service, because the oath you take cuts across all environments. And you might be a soldier today, and you're expected to fight and support the Navy at sea tomorrow, and you cannot say no. You are sworn to that oath, and you are obliged to obey instructions from superior constitutional authority. So first of all, I will tell you that the life of a soldier is unpredictable. Today he's in Hadenkai, tomorrow they say go to safe haven. It does not matter where your family is, or where your spouse is, or your residence reside, or which school your children go attend. Your life is at the instruction of superior authority. So it's in that kind of environment, you see, the man is challenged with planning, because you expect the institution to plan for you, because the institution is the one who has virtually all controls over what you do. And where there are shortages in these areas or constraints due to physical limitations of the state to meet the obligation of the state, because these are instruments of state power. So a nation is only as good as its armed forces. And we are lucky we have today committed persons, men and women in the armed forces, who have lived up to their obligation and won laurels across the world, and indeed made supreme sacrifices within our country to ensure that we meet this role. So if you ask me, I would say, in short, the men have done so much. We need to do much more because the country has also done so much. There has been a lot of sacrifices amongst everybody. But it's a win-win thing. And like you said, the constituents of the armed forces are drawn from within us. They are our brothers, they are sisters, and they are all amongst us together. But we continue to strive for a better government, strive for a more committed armed forces, and to all stakeholders who are in leadership positions to continue to do more so that we reduce or curtail the exposure of these persons to harm's way, and then we have the right equipment to mitigate the threats that try to compromise our national security.
And as we strive for that perfect condition of service delivery for men of the armed forces who have pretty much signed for death if it comes, it brings us to the difficult part of the conversation. Stories abound about servicemen who have died in the line of duty and their family members are not aware. They just lost communication through to them from the battlefield, and they're waiting for news about what has happened to their fathers and to their husbands. Sometimes they wait for months before the inevitable is told them. And the waiting continues sometimes, for burial fees, for the benefits of their loved one. And sometimes it doesn't come for months, maybe years. Tell us what the government is doing, or how you're advocating that this bureaucracy be eliminated, such that family members of loved ones who died on the front line can have closure, particularly for news about how they died. Because sometimes I have read stories about how that is even more important to them, knowing that they have died and how they died.
Thanks. In this area, I would tell you frankly that there are statutory guidelines regarding disclosure of persons who are missing in action, who died in action, and all these sorts. And it's not limited to the armed forces of Nigeria. These are global standards that have been tested, because you could prematurely declare a person to have died in action and inform his next of kin, only to recover that the person, through whatever acts of faith, was able to get out. So it is important that it is confirmed, and the reasons and background to the issues of how he died is confirmed before you disclose that. However, the system has ways of ensuring that the next of kin or the spouses and family are catered for. It might not be the same as when the person is there himself, because there are percentages of his entitlements that are given to the spouse, pending when there is a final confirmation at the actual state of the individual concerned. So these are templated practices. What we can do will be to speed up the process, yes, but it's important that you verify and authenticate issues regarding the physical state of the service personnel before you begin to disclose to the environment, to the persons, because you need to investigate properly to ensure that reasons that occasion the loss of this person or equipment are prevented from happening again. So these are time-tested guidelines, and the system will do more in the area of some level of leverage for the command to be able to cater for unforeseen exigencies that could come up regarding the family. But that is the best they can do for now, until we have a much more wholesome practice. But I believe that it is more important that we are able to determine for real the actual cause of death and the status of the concerned security personnel before such disclosures are made. And I think a lot has happened in the last few years. The government has been very, very, very forthcoming in introducing various policies, debarment policies, and other things that help to cushion the effects of these losses on the part of the family. And we can only urge the government to do some more to appreciate the serviceman and the family involved.
Before we come to remunerations, because that's a big conversation,
Yes.
and budgeting and all of that, part of our interest this morning is to talk to the man in uniform. I'm deliberate with my words.
Yeah.
Not the uniform man, the man in uniform.
Okay.
And you made a very striking statement, I think, when Kayode or Kola asked you a question, said the uncertainty. You're very uncertain. When I think it was Kayode asking you how your day goes, there's so much uncertainty. Your family is somewhere, you could be posted to there. That's a luxury some of us may not be able to afford, if that luxury is a word anyway, or a lifestyle a lot of people may not be able to cope with. I think that's a better way to put it. So I'm wondering, with this level of uncertainty, although we understand you signed your life and all of that, how do you keep up morale? Is it juxtaposing probably how you're treated, the pressure from citizens in their expectation to ensure you perform, your family probably here and there, but you're still expected to do your job at the end of the day? How do you keep up the morale with this level of uncertainty, a lot of pressure?
Thanks, Jeffrey. I think the high point of it all is leadership. Leadership is one of the most essential ingredients of a military officer. And because you are commanding men, you're leading men who may have to pay the sacrifice in the course of it, or even yourself. So good leadership sorts out a lot of encumbrances, because the morale of the man is the most important fighting ingredient in determining, even before you talk about the equipment that he holds. So, but when he's assured that his leadership is there for him, when he's assured that he's working for a nation that will be grateful for the effort that he's put in, and when you, the man who is administering these instruments to lead him into carrying out these responsibilities, he sees you, he trusts your leadership, and he trusts your intentions for him, he will go with you wherever the instructions lead him. So I would only urge us to do more in this area, be more committed in the leadership of how we lead the men, and you can't have it better than what we have today with the wonderful array of military, top hierarchy of the military leadership that we have right now. You can, even from earlier programs, you could have lots of rhapsodies and events from the Chief of Defense Staff's office. We saw the one in the Air Force down there. The Navy was doing their own last week as well. So you see issues of letting the men know that even in the course of this job, if anything happens, the Navy, the armed forces, and the nation remains grateful for your efforts and will stand by you. I just want to put this in as we wind down. Remuneration, yes, big deal. Funding. Well, government successively will say we are spending more than the previous government for defense. But I'd like you to speak to this. We've seen videos of men in uniform making disparaging statements to civilians, in quote, using terms that are degrading. And I know there's that age-long conversation. Why can't people just wear some, some article, maybe camo, just to, associate with the military as we see in other climes, right? And there's always that talk. Maybe this will build the relationship even better, because the average child wants to be a soldier. I remember as a child, I wanted to be a soldier because I really respected that job. So what do you say particularly first to some of the men in uniform that hold disparaging views towards civilians? They say, well, you've not gone through what we've gone through, so you're a bloody civilian, okay? Don't talk to us like that. Some even go to the extent of punishing them, telling them to plank and the rest. And again, can we get to a point where we can maybe not dress like you fully, but at least
something close enough.
Something close.
In solidarity.
Solidarity.
Two questions in one, sir.
Exactly. I don't know about two questions in one, but I know one thing for sure, that the uniform is an insignia, and it plays the role importantly. While we would want to have the situation where we can encourage everyone to put some touch of uniform on the side, we are not oblivious of the fact that we're in a peculiar situation in Nigeria. Our security situation perhaps gives us some constraints, because we have a situation whereby you can see some insurgents, some terrorists perhaps even better dressed than myself. So you see, the environment that we are operating in is such a unique one, because we have persons dressed in all forms of camouflage right now, perpetrating various forms of dastardly acts. So you see, we until we're able to get some sense of normalcy, and then we can be able to shape and understand what we're doing regarding the civil-military relations. And I tell you, 10 years ago it was not like this. The forces have gone far to improve their civic responsibilities, to see that they continue to do works to encourage civil-military relations, and to see that they continue to engender themselves closer to the public is a rethink on the military hierarchy, to see the need for us to work better with the, because we know that if we don't work with the population, I mean, we cannot get sufficient information to guide our operations. But you see, our peculiar limitations dwell mostly on the level of insecurity we have in our country, and the need for us to first address this, and then we can have an opportunity to have Miss Coca dress in a combat rig, or you wearing a flying suit, for instance. I think it's good. It enhances the whole thing, but you know, we must check our advances based on the peculiarities of the nation.
Yeah. What about the people making disparaging comments? You know, men in uniform making disparaging comments to civilians?
Yes, I think it's an ongoing thing, and I agree with you. I constantly have to check even my own staff. As I'm moving on the streets, I have my convoy moving. You see one wants to create way, I keep saying, look, gentlemen, we are here to protect these persons, not to cause more problems. And you know, the funny thing is that sometimes even the persons in uniforms that you think are not civilians are actually ex-servicemen and some ex-service policemen. I've had personal reasons to have been accosted by my former bosses who are retired now, when my staff even say, hey, move away, move away, move away. I said, my friend, not everybody you see is there. So you see, the situation is that it's something that you drew out to, like you threw something into the market square, you don't know who is going to be there. So really, it's an ongoing conversation. We need to keep talking to our men. Gentlemen understand the psyche, but you understand the way the man is thinking. He's constantly on edge. He's been deployed there. Perhaps he's not been home for 2-3 days. Sometimes he's not been home for a week. Maybe he has not paid his son's school fees. Sometimes not even because he doesn't have the money, but he has not been able to be permitted to go to do a transaction somewhere.
We could go on and on and on.
You see, he's just a man on edge. So good leadership from the top hierarchy of the military, keep talking to the men, keep getting them to understand their responsibilities, will go a long way to bring us to the point where we would
and you know, that point that you made now speaks to the need for psychosocial support for the military, and we could go on and on, you know, about other aspects of the conversation, intelligence gathering, remuneration. We didn't talk about remuneration, but we hope to have this conversation at another time. We must thank you very much, and I'm holding you to your word, Rear Admiral, on that uniform for you. At least the trousers.
okay.
Thank you so much, Rear Admiral.
I really appreciate this opportunity
for your time on the program today, and we wish all our men in the Air Force, in the Navy, and the Armed Forces the very best as they continue to defend the territorial integrity of the nation. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate everyone here. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So up next on the program is that very important conversation about your mental health. It's important to us, so stay with us.